Entries are coming in already for our Village Hall's Inspiration Awards, and today we're going to find out a bit more about one of them. Hi everyone, I'm Johnny Thompson and welcome to the Village Hall's podcast sponsored by Allied Westminster, the UK's largest specialist provider of Village Hall insurance and the home of Village Guard. This year, as many of you will know already, we're running an awards programme with Allied Westminster where we're offering prizes of £1,000, £1,500 and £2,500 for your village, church or community hall. Linda Hughes from Worminghall Village Hall in Buckinghamshire was quick off the mark after entries opened on our website recently, and she's kindly joined me today to tell me all about a fantastic community business they've developed, which is just the kind of inspirational idea we're looking for, to be honest. Thanks for coming on, Linda, and welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you for asking me, Johnny. I really am looking forward to this conversation.
Pleasure. Now, before we get started, I just want to say that Linda coming on the show doesn't necessarily mean that one of the prizes on offer here has already been won, if you know what I mean. That will be up to our judges in November. But Linda, let me just say, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, because yours is what I would say is a really good example of one to share.
Great. Yeah. Let me talk about the hall. Worminghall Village Hall was built around 1872. Yeah. So it started its life as a school and was connected to the church in the village. And the school closed in the 1940s or 50s, something. I haven't got an exact date. But it's been a village hall and it's been a charity since the 70s. And has always been run by people within the village. And, it's a great space and it's had all different events that have been held there. So it's a Victorian-looking building, has high windows and a great ceiling that could do with being open out. A garden that was not really used until lately. It's a good community space and it's attractive.
Fantastic. And what's your connection with the hall there, Linda?
I'm one of the trustees of the charity, and I'm also the secretary of the management committee, which sounds a bit posh, doesn't it? But really, I have to. What do? I organise the management meetings, the AGM, and make sure that we're legally in order. Do the charitable returns. So it is a voluntary role, but having procedures in place now has really helped us to know what we should be doing at which point during the year and how to do it. So we're a bit organised now.
And what do you do for a living when you're not helping out with the hall there?
I'm a business consultant with a bit of a people slant to it. I used to be an HR director. So now I spend most of my days talking to organisations about their growth, their culture and their transformation. So in some ways it has come through into the village hall because it's been transformed.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoy.
Yeah, that's the nice thing, isn't it? When you can kind of bring your day-to-day skills and what you do to your local community, I guess.
Yeah. And one of the other things I do is I make these kind of collage pictures. I'm a bit of an Etsy fan, and I was kind of looking through there and found an artist who's a graphic designer. Yeah. And she created for us, because we recently refurbished the hall, and she did this A1 picture for us, which says Worminghall. And we gave her all the kind of the orientation of the village. Quite a few people have got chickens and someone's got goats. It's near an old airfield. So, and all the names of the roads are within this picture. So that's like a really nice graphic design element and artistic element that we wanted to introduce into the village as well.
Fantastic. And you mentioned there a bit of an upgrading and a transformation. Things are going pretty well, aren't they? And what other things have you've been on? All kinds of modern gadgets and things, keyless entry and stuff.
I'll kind of take you through what we have done. Our hall was blue and yellow, and it had some blue check curtains. So just visualise that. It's now a
I'm seeing
modern
a
grey.
well-known Swedish
Yeah.
furniture store when you say that.
It does look like that. It was a bit like that. It's now a kind of a nice grey toned building. We still have the same flooring. So the whole of the hall was repainted. There was a wall between the kitchen and the hall.
Yeah.
And behind it was a massive big window, which you just couldn't, the light was just not coming into the hall. So that's made it a lot more open and visible. Some people might think, oh, the kitchen should have a door that you go into the kitchen and that's it. But it's made it a lot more open when I'll come on and talk about our cafe later on. But it's just made that much more open feel within the hall now. And the curtains are gone and the big windows, a lot of light shines through. So the upgrade to the hall inside, we've got outside furniture now. And so people can utilise it a lot more. And we have some funding through the S106 through the local authority.
Yeah.
So that is now being used for a building project. And whilst the hall is quite old and some of the facilities are not quite up to scratch, we felt that to make the hall as inclusive as we possibly could, we needed to put the disabled toilets in and make the hall a lot more accessible for people with some disabilities or, other challenges. There's
Brilliant.
about 5 or 6 different floor levels.
Yeah.
And so all of those things just needed to be brought into, I suppose, an upgraded version of what it really should be. So keeping the aesthetics of the hall, but putting the right things in place that made it for modern kind of living. Plus, we've now have a door entry system, so there's no keys. Nobody has to be responsible for them or lose them or who's got them. We have engaged with Hallmaster, so we have the booking system, and that's just brilliant. So that anybody can look at the calendar on the website and book and know what terms and conditions are, know the costs, know its availability, when it's open, what's going on. So that's been a big embellishment, really, I would say. And then also linked to Hallmaster now, we've put in the automated heating system, so it connects to a booking, because we do know that we've forgotten to put the heating on a couple of times in the winter. And there's a bowls club there, and they were not impressed with us, not at all.
No, we've spoken about that kind of technology before, and it is tremendous. Makes such a difference, because it's just the whole automation piece and giving you confidence that that you're not really just wasting money and spending it on heating a building that doesn't need it.
Yeah, and it also brings that simplicity of running the building. Whereas when you're looking for volunteers, and if they think, oh, I've got to go down there and unlock the door, then I've got to go back again and make sure it's locked and make sure the heating's off. There's all these things that just become a bit tiresome, and so you take that pressure away, and then they can do things that they can add value to the hall instead.
Great. And as you mentioned the cafe. You've developed a community business.
Yes,
that's really helping to support the hall financially as well. And I guess that's a lot of what your entry is actually all about, isn't it, Linda? So tell me about the Velo Cafe. When did it all come about?
This is a lockdown baby.
Yeah. So many of them.
Yeah, exactly. It started really, we started to think about it during the last lockdown, last period when it was locked down, and opened in the end of the summer. So it's been a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So there used to be a club on a Thursday for, I suppose it was, what was it called? Time Out. And cyclists used to come. One group of cyclists used to come, but it was more like a coffee and chat for older people in the village. So, and that closed during COVID, and the people kind of dispersed and couldn't really continue. So we started the one up on a Saturday morning. So it opens at 10 and closes at 12. And we've now recruited somewhere between, I think it's about 18 to 20 volunteers, and we work on a rotational basis, like every 6 to 8 weeks. So they're the volunteers. We've also recruited 2 youngsters from within the village who work there every Saturday. So they come in, they get the tables and chairs out, they set everything up, and they're the constant. Because when you do it every 6 to 8 weeks, you might think, oh, what do I do? I've forgotten where something is or what's happening. So they're the constant and they're great. So we serve coffee, tea. We have a rota of people that make cakes in the village. My baking skills have enhanced considerably due to the number of cakes that I can now make. But I think the favourites always are Victoria Sponge, lemon drizzle cake.
Yeah.
And also my other favourite that I make is Nadia Hussein from Bake Off. Her flapjack is amazing.
Tremendous.
So, and we also purchase in sausage rolls, and they are a great wheeze with the cyclists. So we also registered as a cafe with the local authority. So we have a 5-star food hygiene rating, and I'm really pleased to say that they were so impressed with what we were doing. They've taken our guide and are now using that to share with other village halls. So
brilliant.
It is a great way of generating an income
Yeah.
for the hall.
And the location sounds like it's key there.
Yeah.
Because you're really picking up on those frequent passers-by, yeah.
Yeah. There's there is a bit of a cycle route. There is definitely a cycle route around. And the good thing is that we've got the garden so that cyclists can come in, put their bikes up against the wall, go into the hall and can either sit outside or inside and their bike's safe. So it's just there's small things that make a difference. We've got a repair kit. Somebody forgot their key once they locked their bikes together, so we had to go and get a chainsaw to get that off for them. It's all these community little things that make a difference.
Brilliant.
There's
great customer service.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. Not quite, yeah. Somebody's fallen off their bike. We've had the first aid kit out.
Yeah.
And somebody's got lost. His phone ran out of battery. How do I get back to meeting my relatives? So there's all sorts of things that happen.
And there's a sustainability angle as well, isn't there? Because it's locally sourced products that you're using.
Yeah. The sausage rolls are from a local butcher's. Most people, I think, will be purchasing their eggs from a couple of people in the village when they make their cakes, and so it is really encouraged to be like that.
Yeah, I'm staggered by the amount of volunteers, and I mean, creating employment opportunities. As well. I mean, that's wonderful.
I mean, you can see how. I don't want to say kids; they're like 15, 16 now, but they've grown.
Mm-hmm.
They are a little bit looking at their phones, but put your phones down, guys. Come on, it's Saturday morning now. Go and talk to people, and they interact. We do free top-ups with drinks, so they're out and about talking to people. They know the locals that come in and what they like to drink, so they're ready for them. You can see through the window of the hall when someone's coming up the road, so they capture it, and it's really about building that piece for the future. There's others that are looking to.
It's always important to have that first thing on your CV, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
They've done. I'm really, really proud of it because the other week we had over 80 cyclists come through in 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean that's
it was
a lot of high street stores would like that kind of footfall.
Where we offer, free top-ups of drinks. People didn't get one that day. And we just went out and said, look, I'm really sorry. We just couldn't keep up with you. No problem. We'll be back. So that's just great that people feel they want to come back to the cafe as well. But I think you go home from one of those events and you sit there and your head's buzzing because you're so excited about what happened. But it's sustainable for the future. It's what village halls need is something that just brings different communities into the hall, and can see what it can be used for. And then, we've got numerous parties, children's parties that go on in the afternoon, and we've got different clubs that run during the week.
Any kind of vital lessons you've learned along the way? I'm just thinking anyone else who's maybe thinking about launching a community business,
I think get your ideas clearly kind of in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Know what your brand is for your cafe, and our brand for our cafe in particular is large portions. We got the blue and the yellow retail location cups, which are quite big, and stick to those, stick to it, so that you build that reputation and everybody can follow that kind of brand all the way through in what they're doing. And it's about giving that piece back to the community and know that you've got a good throughput of people coming in.
Yeah.
And, just got to be a bit regimented. But the nice thing was the volunteers that came in, it was a couple of people, there was a few people that I kind of hoodwinked at the pub. Well, I'm just chattering away about the cafe. And then it was a little bit like people were, I'm missing out if I'm not in the club, the volunteers. So we've only had 2 people that have stepped down, and those are for kind of personal reasons, looking after aging parents. So it's about keeping that momentum of volunteers. It's a bit, a bit of a, I won't say it's a leaking bucket, but just keeping that momentum going. We've got a WhatsApp group, so I communicate if we've got some great feedback from anybody or people want to swap their shifts. So that works. It's not regimented, like I've just put a plan together for the year. And if people want to change their dates that they can't do something and people swap it, that works quite well. So it's being upfront, being transparent, being organised and smiling.
Yeah, always a smile helps, definitely.
Yeah. And it just works. And I make it, it's no big deal. The nicer you are with the people that are volunteering, the much more receptive they are as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess at the end of it all, the important thing is bringing those extra funds to the village hall, because it as a result, it's supporting the local community, isn't it? Which is what community businesses are supposed to be all about at the end of the day. Yeah,
because we don't. There's no. We're a charity, and it's there's no other income apart from what we generate for the hall. So it's not. There's no kind of set funds coming into the hall. And those are things that we will continue to talk to the parish council about, of making, it is a focal point to the village. It never had that funding before. That might be something for the future. So it just shows what you can do and change. And it's just because it was always done that way, you can do things differently in the future.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Anything else, Linda, that you want to want to add?
And I think the other thing about making the hall inclusive, it's just not for people perhaps with disabilities. It's those hidden disabilities as well, and making that environment as welcoming as possible, the inside and the outside environment, and we engage with the community. We engage with the community before we can set some of the elements up about the hall, to ask, so what is it that you feel is important for the hall and for the community? And there were lots of ideas. Some of them that we've, quite a few we've been able to tick off already. And others, it's due to the lack of funding that was available. And now we're putting some of those things in place. So that's really a great thing, to be able to say that you've been able to do that. And so we've had some funding from the Jubilee. Is it a Jubilee fund? The last Jubilee. So it's hard sometimes when you're doing funding. That's quite a tough approach to take, because you sometimes feel like it's the same people that contribute. So getting some other funding from elsewhere makes it feel a lot more palatable.
Great. Well, good luck. That's all I can say.
So get on your bike and we'll see you at the cafe on a Saturday morning.
Well, I was just thinking, next time I'm around Oxford way, I might just find my way there and sample some of the homemade delicacies. When you were mentioning the different cakes and things like that, I think the stomach was starting to rumble. Do you do a chocolate cake, Linda?
God, yeah. There's always a chocolate brownie there.
Okay, as well. But I'll see you tomorrow then. No, but seriously, I mean, it's a great idea you've had there, and thanks again for sharing, the details with us in your awards entry, and of course on the podcast today.
Thank you very much for asking me to join you, and it's been really enjoyable just just sharing what we've been up to.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure having a chat. And as I say, good luck with your entry. You never know. We may be chatting again later in the year.
I hope so.
And that's all, everyone, for this episode. Don't forget, entries are open for our Village Halls Inspiration Award on our website at thevillagehallspodcast.com. Your entry doesn't have to be about a community business like Linda's. It could be about anything, or even anyone who may inspire others to do something worthwhile for your local community. Tell us your story, and you may end up with some extra funds for your village hall. Many thanks to our headline sponsor and specialist insurance provider, Allied Westminster, for supporting our awards and making our podcast possible. You can discover more at villageguard.com. And thanks to online booking system provider Hallmaster, who also sponsor our podcast and can be found at hallmaster.co.uk. You've been listening to the Village Halls podcast, a unique listening community for Britain's village, church and community halls, and anyone interested in the vital community services they provide. We'll be back again soon with another episode. For more information, please visit our website, where you'll also find links to our social media pages. Thanks again for listening in, and until the next time, goodbye for now.